Welcome everybody, Jason Overly with Overly Equipment. Jason Overly Equipment LLC, www.FordJacobsonTractor.com. And I wanted to do some other videos, but for some reason, me and electronics don't get along. Some of the videos didn't upload, had problems with the camera. But I did rebuild the steering column, and I rebuilt the motor the past couple of days, this past weekend. So, unfortunately, you guys did not get to see it. I'm not tearing anything back apart just for a video, so I'm sorry. I may make a future video on another column I may have out at one point in time. So, the column was apart. I rebuilt this column when I first got the tractor before, and I put a OEM new plate I had, NOS, banana, or whatever you want to call it, the plate that goes with the cross shaft. And I was wondering what happened to it. I just rebuilt it. Here, the actual weld broke, OEM weld broke, which is the ring with the threads on it, the embossed part. And I was like really shocked on that. So I had to re-weld it, put it back together, put it back in. So it's all like brand new once again. Rebuilt the motor, went over it. Didn't smoke or nothing, just had that little bit of a knock. Here I found out it was a one of the balance gears. There's two balance gears in this motor. Some had one, some had two. This had two, and one of the bearings was bad in it. Lucky me that it didn't leave go when I was running it. I don't run a tractor much, but leave it go when I was running it. It didn't blow the motor up, because if they leave go, it takes the crank cam out. I've seen it on an engine. Lucky me. Thing runs good. It runs like a sewing machine. So we did put a new piston and rod in it. It all meets tolerances. It was good. No machining was really required. We honed the cylinder out and put it all back together. So it's really, it didn't have very many hours on it. I couldn't see why it would have an engine knock, but that's why the balance gears. And they're notorious for that. You got to watch them balance gears in these machines. I highly recommend pulling them out. And I've never noticed a difference whether this thing shakes or not. It's a single cylinder engine with that big massive flywheel. They're going to shake, folks, so it doesn't really matter. Them balance gears, I always say the engineers know what they're doing. In this case, I don't know what they were thinking. Maybe to try to quiet it, to keep it from shaking so much. But maybe, I don't know. But I know one thing, I take them out and I don't ever notice. Maybe some people do, I don't notice it. Anyhow, with this tractor here, you can see the menagerie on the front end, and you're probably wondering, what in the world is all that? So let's dive into it. So here we are with the front end of this machine, and it's pretty highly optioned. Just about every option for the attachment-wise you could get on it. It has a rear PTO, and I also put the snowblower setup on it. Now you could technically run all this at one time minus your mule drive for your mower deck. So you could buy this tractor in 1973. I think this is a 73. 73 or 75. I'll have to run the numbers on the serial tag on the engine. So you could buy the mower deck, you could buy the snowblower, and you could buy whatever attachment you needed with the rear PTO. And I say that everybody automatically goes to tillers, but we'll get to that. So we're still at the front end of this machine, going over some things, and you can see the bracket for the snowblower goes in. Now this is open side specific. You know the difference between open side and a closed side of tractor. This bracket is a little different, so it clears the grill on the tractor. So if it was an open side or closed sided, it would be all black, and it would fit either the Ford or Jacobson tube frame closed side. Being that this is an open side, this is going to be specific only to the Fords, Jacobsons, and Oliver's open sides. So it is a pretty neat setup to find all of this that come with this tractor, including this spring and this bracket, which seems to always to be missing. And that bracket comes down around, and then you can see that's an idler pulley that keeps the belt tight for the rear PTO. And then this bracket here, as you can see, comes out over and down and tightens up the belt for the gearbox. This was all designed so you could run all of this at one time with minimum maintenance to tearing stuff apart from one implement to the other. So you could, I wouldn't recommend it. Why run the rear PTO if you don't have to? All you can do is take that belt off. It's really easy. It's simple. drop the belt and only use it when you need it. I mean, you're going to use it to till, run a rototiller, run a leaf vac, run hydraulic pumps, whatever you're going to run off the rear PTO it's up to you. It's all a matter of putting a belt on it. Can it be pain in the butt with the fiberglass grill? Yes, it can be. But that's why they put all the brackets on the way it was. They actually recommend you just run it pretty much the way this was. Just for your information, I do sell the bearings, and I did put new pulleys on it. That's one of my pulleys I sell, and so is that, and the belts. So we sell all of that, including that bearing, but that one's a good bearing, so why put a new one on it? So the rear PTO shaft runs back through the tractor, and we'll get to the rear of this, which is pretty neat. And you can see it's got wooden pillow blocks. It's got all the original wooden pillow blocks. I guess it's a bearing, but I don't know what they had. I had to look it up in the book to see what they technically call those wooden blocks. I have them on the workbench. I have a couple sets for sale too. So we get to the back and it's got this pulley on it, which is pretty cool because I've seen pulleys on the back of these before, but this one's actually, now I don't have it tightened down or anything because it's for demonstration purposes, but it's pretty unique because it has the hole already in it. So I know this is a OEM pulley for driving probably a leaf vac. I have a photo of a close-sided with a leaf vac with a rear PTO driven blower unit or vacuum unit as you want to call it. So as you can see, it's got you got your Woodruff key, and then you got your hole that runs through the shaft. Now that hole is actually the hole you would also use for your universal joint that runs your tiller. So the keyway was designed for this pulley, and here's the roll pin and the Woodruff key for that. So that's all from the factory yet. Nothing, it's not too rare, but it's pretty neat to find it in that pulley. Because you could run, like I said, a leaf vac. I do believe the post hole digger, the post hole auger, ran off something like that. You would need a pulley and a belt. I'm not sure what it was. It more likely ran a hydraulic pump is what I'm thinking. So the implements they had a wide range of them. Now I do have some brochures of them on my website. If you look under information on the information page, you'll see a brochure of them. That's not all of them because they actually outsource different manufacturers, and the dealer may had a different book with their local manufacturers of different implements. It was definitely different back in the 70s, like it is today, because we have our restored sickle bar Ford with the Didier sickle bar on it, and that's Didier. That ain't Jacobson. So they went to this third party to do the manufacturing of implements, and then they outsourced whatever for this and that. So. Yeah, I really don't know all the manufacturers. I don't know if anybody does. Maybe somebody would actually work for Jacobson or Ford or whoever. But like the tillers were the most common. The tillers were the most common implement, and as you see, this has the tiller, top shaft, rock shaft, whatever you want to call it. So I have a tiller. But when I got this, a tiller didn't come with it. So does it matter? No, because it's going to be the same black tiller if I do decide to sell it or go with it. But that's the only thing you need, and it's different. This is not a 3-point, folks. This is just a rock shaft. That's all you need, because the tiller, which I'll probably do a video on a tiller, how it hooks up. Actually, I think there's a hitch. There's a couple pictures of it already on the website of how the tiller and a 3-point are different machines or different implements. This is a sleeve hitch I use for plowing, so I just have it on there as a weight bracket because I want to put the snowblower on it and run everything before I sell it, and maybe try it out this winter if we get some snow. So it's pretty cool. I'm going to show you the wood blocks since the fenders are on. So here's the wood blocks. This would be your rear wooden block, and these would be your front wooden block. Now these I do have are for sale if you want a set. I have extras. I think I got 2 sets of them. There's another rear, and I keep all my rear PTO parts. So I do have them for sale if anybody's interested, if they want to go this style. I do sell brand new bearings front and rear for the rear PTO, and I also sell a greasable PTO shaft. Or PTO pillow block bearing for that PTO shaft. It's an option. I like it because it keeps it, you can grease it. It keeps the shaft from wobbling if it's a little slightly bent. But there's a downfall to that. You got to keep that shaft nice and clean and rust free. Because if you don't, and you ever have to get to them points, you're going to have a problem. Because if you take the front pulley off, you can unbolt the back right there and slide the whole shaft back to get to the points, that couple inches if you have to. But if you use my pillow block, which is fine, it's a matter of what you want. Because if the shaft is bent and it's wobbling, you naturally don't want it hitting the fender or vibrating and everything else, because they will. On my 165 that I have, it's actually a slightly bent shaft and you can't get it out. It's too hard to get the bend out of a 6-foot rod. It just doesn't work. So I put that pillow block bearing into it and quiet it down. My only problem is sliding that drive shaft back and forth. So you got to keep it greased, keep it clean, keep it in storage, and you'll be just fine. But if you want the wooden pillow blocks, if your tractor sits outside or maybe in an open shed or something, that may be the option you got, because you could just slide it in and out, as long as your shaft isn't warped and bent. Because again, if it is, which I've seen that, it'll take the wooden blocks right out. It'll crack them and bust them. So anyhow, let's go out to the salvage yard and look to see where these things get mounted up, since the fenders are on this tractor. Okay, as you can see, we have a tube frame Jacobson, and it is a gear drive, but it'll work the same for demonstration reasons. So here you have that front bracket everybody sees and goes, what is that for? Well, that's what that bracket is for, because this would bolt into place, as you can see. So you got these two holes would bolt to there, and that guy would bolt in, and your shaft would go through there. So that one goes through there, and that drive shaft does go in between there, between the steering arm and the frame. So that's where it goes through. Then your back one, so there's that hole there. That's what this is for. So that would bolt right to there. So that's how that's set up on that. Now the other thing is this crossbar. See this bar here on this where my fingers are at? That is for your snowplow. So when your snowplow bolts up to it, you can see down in there, that's the rear bracket for your snowplow or your snowblower. Now this is pretty odd because some Jacobsons didn't have it, some did. Some were welded. All the Fords had them and were welded. But I don't know when they changed, but a lot of people, let me look underneath to see if this one has it or not. Some of them were a bolt-on. It was an addition. Now see, that one's a bolt-on. So someone ordered that when they got a snowplow or a snowblower, that would have came with it. Not all of them had that. At one time, they were all welded from the factory, then they changed halfway through production years, who knows when, because that is a open side frame and that's an open side frame. So somewhere along the lines they decided not to cut costs probably on manufacturing, make the customer pay for it if they wanted it. So that's probably why they did that. Because remember, when you bought these machines, you weren't, it ain't like today when you would go into Lowe's and it has a mower deck on it. When you bought these machines off of a dealer back in the 70s, you bought that tractor for a specific purpose. And we're talking school districts, maybe municipalities, businesses, farmers, whatever. They would come in there and say, I want a tractor, but I just want a snowblade. They don't want to, so they wouldn't need electric PTO, they wouldn't need nothing else. Some of them came down in here, and I have a tractor. It was I had a loader tractor years ago that was a municipality. It was all yellow. So they ordered that tractor just for a loader, and that was it. They had brooms, power brooms for the front and rear of these, which would probably run that rear PTO again I was telling you with the belt. So they had power brooms for them and reel mowers. So you may came in and bought this tractor for a specific purpose. You bought the tractor, then you bought which implement or attachment you wanted. So it's different. So if you were just buying a a tractor just to mow grass, you wouldn't need that bracket. Or if you were buying it for the rear too, you wouldn't need that bracket. So they started streamlining them over the years. Like I said in the beginning, as they started, I noticed, because I'm around this stuff, I've been doing this stuff a long time, you could notice a lot of differences in the frames. And one of these days when I clean this salvage yard up in the summer, we're going to go over all the different frames. And people say, oh, there's only one generation, two generation. Well, if you want to call it generation, that's fine. I don't care. But from year to year, there was different things on them that were different from early years to later years. Some had welded snowblower pins. Some had bolt-in snowblower pins. Just odds and ends to save money on the assembly line and material and making the customer, adding that cost to the customer. So that's just the nature of the beast of manufacturing, right? So you don't get all the bells and whistles when you buy a bottom of the line car, right? You have to purchase more, buy more to get the upgraded version. So not just like cars, tractors were the same way. They figured that out. So anyhow, thanks for the video. Thanks for watching, guys. I know I don't take the greatest videos. I can't stress that enough. Please don't feel that I try my best with this. Don't feel upset or whatever. I do my best with this stuff, and try to get this information out here and more so people are understanding what they're getting into, because they may want to purchase these things. They have one, your dad has one, they don't have manuals. So this is what this is all for. This is all informational purposes for everybody out there. And if you happen to need parts, like I said, well, there's what's left of the salvage yard. We've cleaned up a lot. There used to be a lot more machines out here, but most of it's on shelves now. We've broken down a lot of machines, and a lot of parts are on shelves now, and nobody really buys frames anymore. So regardless, we do a lot of cleaning up. We have to. But if you need anything, send me an email. You can give me a call, text. I still work a full-time job, so don't get upset if I don't answer right away. Best just to email through the website. This way I can get to you when I can and focus on your needs, and I don't want you pushed to the side if I forget to return a phone call or something like that. So hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. We appreciate it. Have you guys a wonderful day.